Commander Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the Earth ship, intrepid, and watched the stars disappear. One by one, the bright dots of light vanished behind the dark shapes of alien warships. The enemy vessels moved into position like hungry wolves, surrounding a wounded deer. "How many are there?" Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer would be bad. Navigation Officer Kelly Brooks looked up from her screen with wide eyes. 300 ships, Commander. They have us completely surrounded." Lisa felt her stomach drop. 300 enemy ships against her single cruiser? The numbers were so bad they seemed like a joke. But the massive alien vessels floating outside, her windows were very real. The communication system crackled to life. Admiral Jake Morrison's voice came through from Earth Command, 20 light-years away. The signal took several seconds to reach them, making the conversation feel strange and delayed. "Lisa, we are looking at your situation from here. The tactical computers show no way out. The aliens have you trapped." She closed her eyes for a moment. 6 months ago, she had been a student at the Space Academy. She was the commander of 87 people who were about to die because she had made a terrible mistake. The mistake had seemed so small at the time. Intelligence reports said there was an alien supply depot in the Kepler sector. The depot was supposed to be lightly defended. Earth Command wanted someone to check it out and maybe steal some alien technology. Lisa had volunteered for the mission, eager to prove herself as a new commander, but there was no supply depot. The whole thing had been a trap. Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez called from the engine room. His voice was tight with worry. "Commander, the aliens hit us with some kind of pulse weapon when we came out of hyperdrive. Our main engines are damaged. We can move, but not fast enough to outrun those ships." Lisa looked at the tactical display. Again, the alien ships formed a perfect sphere around the Intrepid. No matter which direction they tried to run, enemy vessels would be waiting. Even if their engines worked perfectly, they could never escape. Weapons Officer Steve Parker spoke up from his station. "Commander, I count the firepower out there. If we fight, we might damage 5 or 6 of their ships before they destroy us. Maybe 10, if we get lucky. 10 ships out of 300. Lisa had seen better odds in her nightmares. The aliens were called Zephyrians. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs and had 4 arms. Intelligence reports said they were 7 feet tall and covered in thick scales that could stop most human weapons. They had conquered dozens of star systems and never lost a single battle. The Zephyrians were known for being honorable warriors, but they showed no mercy too. Enemies they considered weak. Every species that had fought them was either destroyed or made into slaves. The reports said they believed that only the strong deserved to live in the galaxy. Lisa had read those reports many times during her training. She had never expected to face the Zephyrians herself, especially not alone and outnumbered 300 to 1. A new voice came over the communication system. This one spoke in heavily accented English, translated by computer from the alien language to human vessel. "This is Admiral Krekstar of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Lisa looked around her bridge. Her crew was young, most of them fresh out of training like herself. Communications Officer Rick Chen was only 22 years old. Lieutenant Amy Foster, her second in command, was barely 20. They all looked at her with expressions that mixed fear and hope. She realized they still believed she could save them. They thought their commander had a plan. Lisa wished she could tell them the truth, that she was just as scared as they were and had no idea what to do. "Human commander," the alien voice continued, "you have 2 choices. Surrender and become prisoners of war, or fight and be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to decide." Lisa stared at the communication panel. Both choices led to the same place: defeat. If they surrendered, they would be taken prisoner and probably never see Earth again. If they fought, they would die in the next few minutes. Either way, the Zephyrians would send a message to humanity that resistance was useless. "What are your orders, Commander?" Amy Foster asked quietly. Lisa looked out at the alien fleet again. Each enemy ship was 3 times larger than the Intrepid. Their weapons could punch through her ship's armor like paper. Her shields could probably absorb everything her weapons could throw at them. But something about the situation bothered her. Why had the Zephyrians gone to so much trouble to trap one small human ship? It could have destroyed the Intrepid the moment it arrived in the system. Instead, they surrounded it and offered surrender terms. She remembered something from her studies at the Academy. The Zephyrians valued honor above everything else. They believed that true warriors should face their enemies directly, not hide behind overwhelming numbers. Yet here they were, using 300 ships to capture one. Maybe they wanted something more than just another victory. Maybe they wanted to test humanity's courage. Commander Steve Parker said urgently, 8 minutes left. Lisa made a decision that surprised everyone on the bridge, including herself. Instead of choosing between the two options the aliens had given her, she decided to create a third option. Open a channel to the Zephyrian commander, she ordered. Rick. Chen's fingers moved quickly over his controls.
Ow!
Channel open, Commander. Lisa took a deep breath. What she was about to do was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Admiral Krekstar, this is Commander Lisa Hayes. I request a parley under the ancient laws of honorable warfare. There was a long silence. Then the alien voice came back, sounding surprised. Explain your request, human. I invoke the right of single combat negotiation. I will come aboard your ship, alone and unarmed, to discuss terms. Her crew stared at her in shock. Amy Foster stood up from her chair. Commander, that's suicide. The Zephyrians are known for killing prisoners. Lisa ignored the protest and continued. Speaking to the alien commander, if I can convince your war council that humanity deserves respect rather than conquest, you will allow my ship to leave safely. If I fail, you may destroy us. But I ask that you delay any invasion of human space for 1 full year. Another long silence. Lisa could almost hear the alien commander thinking. Finally, Admiral Krekstar spoke again. This is an unusual request. Human, why would you sacrifice yourself for such a small delay? Lisa looked at her crew one more time. These people trusted her to protect them. She would not let them down, even if it cost her everything. Because my people are worth any price. I have to pay, she said. Admiral Krekstar's voice came through the speaker again after what felt like hours but was only minutes. Your request is strange, human commander. No enemy has ever asked to board our ships willingly. Lisa stood straighter on her bridge. Could feel her crew watching her every move. They thought she had lost her mind. Maybe she had. I am prepared to come aboard immediately, Lisa said into the communication device. I will bring no weapons and no protective gear. Just myself, Commander. No, Amy Foster whispered urgently. This is insane. The Zephyrians tortured their prisoners. Everyone knows that. Lisa turned to face her second-in-command. Amy was right, of course. The intelligence reports were full of stories about what happened to people who fell into Zephyrian hands. None of those stories had happy endings, but Lisa had studied something at the Academy that most people did not know about. The Zephyrians had an old concept called Vorthok. It was a special kind of honor they gave to warriors who showed pure courage. The kind of courage that meant facing certain death to protect others. No human had ever earned Vorthok recognition. Lisa was not even sure it was possible, but if she could somehow trigger that ancient honor code, it might change everything. The alien commander spoke again. Very well, human. You will transport to our flagship in 10 minutes. Come alone. Any tricks, and your ship dies immediately. They all looked at her like she was walking to her own execution, which she probably was. Commander Danny Rodriguez called from the engine room through the internal communication system. You cannot do this. We need you here. The ship needs a captain, Rick Chen added. If you leave, who will command us? Lisa walked over to Amy Foster. You will be in command while I am gone, Amy. If something happens to me, take care of the crew? Amy shook her head. Nothing is going to happen to you because you are not going over there. I have to, Lisa said quietly. It is the only chance we have. She moved toward the transport room, but Amy stepped in front of her. There has to be another way. We could fight. Maybe we could damage enough of their ships to make them think twice about attacking Earth. We would die in the first 5 minutes, Lisa replied. And they would still attack Earth. This way, maybe we can buy our people some time to prepare. Lisa walked past Amy and headed for the transport room. Her crew followed her, trying to change her mind with every step. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sam Phillips caught up with her in the hallway. Commander, wait. Take this. He handed her a small device that looked like a personal medical scanner. It might help somehow. Lisa knew the device was more than it appeared to be. Dr. Phillips was too smart to give her something useless. Tucked it into her uniform pocket, Danny Rodriguez appeared around the corner, breathing hard from running up from the engine room. Commander, I managed to hide something in your uniform while you were not looking. He pointed to a tiny spot on her collar. It is a quantum communicator, very small. The aliens might not find it. We will be able to hear what happens to you. Lisa nodded. She was grateful for her crew's efforts to help her, even though she knew the aliens would probably find any hidden devices within minutes. They reached the transport room. The walls hummed with energy as the transport pad powered up. Lisa stepped onto the glowing circle in the center of the room. Receiving transport coordinates from the Zephyrion flagship, the transport technician reported, ready to beam on your command, Commander. Lisa looked at her crew one more time. These people had become like family to her over the past 6 months. Amy Foster was crying, but trying to hide it. Danny Rodriguez was clenching his fist so hard his knuckles were white. Rick Chen stared at the floor like he could not bear to watch. If I do not come back, Lisa said, remember that humans never give up. No matter how bad things get, we keep fighting for each other. You will come back, Amy said firmly. Have to? Lisa smiled. She wished she could believe that. Take care of each other. That is an order. She nodded to the transport technician. Energize. The world dissolved around her in a swirl of blue light. For a few seconds, she existed somewhere between her ship and the alien vessel. Then reality reformed around her, and she found herself standing in the most frightening place she had ever seen. The transport room of the Zephyrion flagship was huge and dark. The walls were made of black metal covered with sharp spikes. Lights cast evil shadows everywhere. The air smelled like metal and something else she could not identify. 6 Zephyrion warriors surrounded her. Each one was 7 feet tall and covered in dark green scales. Their forearms ended in claws that could easily rip a human apart. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dim light, and their mouths showed rows of sharp teeth. Lisa had seen pictures of Zephyrions before, but standing next to them was completely different. They were built for war. Every part of their bodies was designed to kill. One of the warriors stepped forward. This one wore more armor than the others, and had scars across his face that spoke of many battles. I am Commander Yathera, the alien, said in heavily accented English. You will come with us now. Any resistance will result in immediate death. Lisa raised her hands to show she was not armed. I understand. I am ready to meet with your war council. The aliens formed a circle around her and began walking toward a door that was twice as tall as any human door. Lisa walked in the center of the group, trying not to show how scared she was. The corridors of the Zephyrion ship were like walking through a nightmare. Everything was designed to intimidate. The walls showed pictures of conquered worlds and defeated enemies. The lighting made everything look threatening. Even the sound of their footsteps echoed in a way that made Lisa feel small and helpless. Other Zephyrion crew members stopped to stare at her as they passed. Some of them made sounds that might have been laughter. Others showed their teeth in what was definitely not a smile. Lisa had never felt so alone in her life. They walked for what felt like miles through the massive ship. Finally, they stopped in front of 2 enormous doors, covered with symbols that looked like battle scenes. The doors slowly opened with a sound. Like thunder, beyond the doors was the War Council chamber. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped inside, knowing she might never come out again. The War Council chamber was the most terrifying room Lisa had ever seen. The walls were carved from black rock that seemed to absorb light. Red flames burned in metal bowls around the edges of the room, casting dancing shadows that made everything look alive and angry. 13 Zephyrion leaders sat on throne-like chairs arranged in a half-circle. Each one was bigger and more scarred than the warriors who had brought her here. Their yellow eyes glowed in the dim light as they stared down at her, In the center of the half-circle sat Admiral Krekstar. Lisa could tell he was the leader because his armor was covered with more battle decorations than the others. His scales were darker, almost black, and 3 long scars ran down the left side of his face. "So Admiral Krekstar said, his voice echoing in the huge chamber. "This is the human who thinks she can negotiate with the Zephyrian Empire." Lisa stood in the center of the room, feeling very small. The ceiling was so high she could barely see it in the darkness above. The floor beneath her feet was made of the same black stone as the walls. "I am Commander Lisa Hayes of the Earth vessel Intrepid," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I request the right to speak before your council." Several of the alien leaders made sounds that might have been laughter. One of them, a female with bright green scales, leaned forward. "Humans do not have rights here, little creature," she said. "You have only what we choose to give you." Admiral Krekstar raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "Before we hear your words, human, you must undergo truth-seeking. This is our way of ensuring that prisoners speak honestly." 2 Zephyrian technicians entered the chamber, carrying a device that looked like a metal crown covered with wires and Ward Gaby, and tooths. "Human, you must undergo truth seeking. This is our way of ensuring that prisoners are speak, and that prisoners touch data." 2 Zephyrian technicians entered the chamber carrying, at the present, its sharp points. Lisa's heart began beating faster as she realized what was about to happen. "This device will connect to your mind," Admiral Krekstar explained. "It will cause you great pain while forcing you to relive your worst memories and fears. All prisoners must endure this before they may speak to the council." The technicians placed the metal crown on Lisa's head. Immediately, sharp pain shot through her skull. The world around her disappeared, replaced by visions from her past. She was 8 years old again, watching her father die in the Mars colony. Disaster. The memory was so real she could smell the smoke and hear the screaming. She felt the same helplessness she had experienced as a child, unable to save the person she loved most. The pain grew worse. Now she was back at the Space Academy, failing her first command simulation. Her instructor's voice echoed in her mind, telling her she was not ready to lead anyone. The shame and disappointment felt just as fresh as the day it happened. More memories crashed through her consciousness. Every mistake she had ever made, every time she had been afraid, every moment of doubt about whether she was good enough to be a commander. For 6 hours, the torture continued. Lisa's body shook with pain, but she remained standing. The Zephyrian Council watched, expecting her to beg for mercy like every other prisoner they had tested. But Lisa did not beg. When the visions showed her greatest fears, she faced them. When the pain became almost unbearable, she gritted her teeth and endured it. "Why do you not surrender?" Admiral Krekstar asked, during a brief pause in the torture. "Every other species breaks within the first hour." Lisa looked up at him through eyes filled with tears of pain. "Because my crew is counting on me. Are worth any price I have to pay." The alien leaders exchanged glances. They'd never heard an answer like that before. The second test began when the technicians removed the torture device. Lisa was taken to an arena filled with deadly obstacles. Sharp metal spikes jutted from the walls. Pits of acid bubbled in the floor. Energy beams shot across the space at random intervals. Zephyrian warrior entered the arena carrying energy claws that could cut through steel. He was twice Lisa's size and trained from birth to kill. Lisa was given only a simple metal sword and a small shield. "This is Warrior Drexkin," Admiral Krekstar announced from his viewing platform above the arena. "He has killed 300 enemies in combat. Defeat him, and you may continue to speak. Die, and your ship will be destroyed immediately." Lisa knew she could not win through strength or speed. The Zephyrian warrior was superior in every physical way. But as she looked around the arena, she noticed something the aliens had not mentioned. A group of young Zephyrians sat in a viewing area near the floor of the arena. They looked like children, brought to watch the execution as part of their education. The warrior charged at her with his energy claws extended. Lisa dodged to the side and tried to stay away from his attacks. She used the obstacles in the arena to slow him down, ducking behind spikes and jumping over acid pits, but the warrior was too fast and too strong. Soon she was bleeding from several cuts and struggling to stay on her feet. The Zephyrian raised his claws for a killing blow at that moment. Lisa noticed that the warrior's attack would also hit the viewing area where the young Zephyrian sat. Without thinking, she threw herself between the warrior's claws and the children. Energy weapons tore through her shoulder and side, but her body protected the young aliens from harm. She collapsed to the ground, bleeding heavily. Something incredible happened then. The warrior stopped his attack. He stared down at Lisa with an expression of complete confusion. In 800 years of conquest, no prisoner had ever protected the Forian civilians at the cost of their own life. The concept was so alien to their experience that it forced them to question everything they believed about other species. The final test was the cruelest of all. The aliens connected Lisa to another device that showed her visions of her crew's destruction. She watched what appeared to be real footage of the Intrepid being torn apart by Zephyrian weapons. She saw her crew members dying one by one, calling her name as they were killed. The neural interface made the experience feel completely real. Lisa broke down crying as she watched her people suffer and die because of her failure. But even through her tears, she whispered words that shocked the alien council. "I am sorry I failed you. I hope the year I bought you is enough." Admiral Krekstar stood up from his throne. For the first time in his long military career, he was witnessing something that challenged everything he understood about warfare and honor. Admiral Krekstar stared down at the broken human lying on the arena floor. Lisa Hayes had endured 6 hours of mental torture, fought a warrior twice her size, and watched her crew die in horrible detail. Yet she still whispered words of hope. "For her people, remove the prisoner," Admiral Krekstar commanded. "The council will discuss what we have witnessed." The Zephyrian guards carried Lisa to a small holding cell, while the alien leaders retreated to their private chamber. For the first time in 800 years of conquest, the truth-seeking ceremony had been interrupted for debate. In the council chamber, 13 of the most powerful Zephyrian military leaders sat in confused silence. What they had seen challenged everything they believed about warfare, honor, and the nature of strength itself. Commander Yathera, the youngest member of the council, spoke first. What this human displayed was Vorthok. True Vorthok. I have read the ancient texts, but never believed I would see it. Impossible, growled General Korthax, an old warrior whose scales were white with age. Vorthok is the highest form of honor. It can only be achieved by true warriors, not by weak creatures like humans. Then explain what we witnessed, Yathera challenged. She faced certain death to protect others, even our own young. She endured torture without begging for mercy. She spoke of her crew's welfare, even while watching them die. If that is not Vorthok, what is? The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that humans were simply too primitive to understand true honor. Others admitted they had never seen such behavior from any prisoner, including warriors. From species they respected, Admiral Krekstar remained silent through most of the discussion. He was thinking about something that troubled him deeply. In all his years of conquest, he had never questioned whether the Zephyrian way was right. But this small human had shown him something his own people had forgotten. When Lisa was brought back to the council chamber, she could barely stand. Her shoulder was bandaged where the energy claws had cut her, and her face was pale from blood loss. What? But her eyes were still clear and determined. Human Admiral Krekstar said, "You have achieved something we thought impossible. You have earned our respect. However, respect alone cannot change the fate of your species. The invasion of human space will proceed as planned." Lisa nodded slowly. She had expected this answer. "I understand, Admiral. But may I make one final request? Speak." Lisa reached into her uniform pocket and pulled out the small device Dr. Phillips had given her. The Zephyrian guards tensed, thinking it might be a weapon. But Lisa held it peacefully. "This contains information that both our species need to know," she said. "It is about a threat much greater than any war between us." Admiral Krekstar gestured for the device to be brought to him. When the scanner activated, it projected a three-dimensional star map in the air above the chamber. The map showed the current positions of both human and Zephyrian territories, but at the edge of the map, Approaching from outside the galaxy was something that made every alien in the room go silent. The Devourers, Lisa said quietly. They are a machine intelligence that consumes all organic life. Our deep space sensors detected them 3 years ago. They will reach Zephyrian space in less than 3 years. The star map showed thousands of dark ships moving through empty space like a plague of metal locusts. Behind them, entire star systems were dark and lifeless. Your scientists must have detected them too, Lisa continued. But you've probably dismissed the readings as sensor errors or natural phenomena. Admiral Krekstar's expression had changed completely. We have noticed strange readings from our outer sensors. Our scientists said they were caused by stellar radiation. They were wrong, Lisa said. The Devourers have already consumed 17 galaxies. Ours is next. When they arrive, it will not matter who controls which star system. All organic life will be destroyed unless we work together. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices as the alien leaders realized the implications. Their ancient enemy, the species they had come to conquer, was offering to share intelligence about a threat that could destroy them all. General Korthax leaned forward. Why do you tell us this? If we are all doomed anyway, why not let us discover it ourselves? Lisa looked directly at the old warrior. Because I believe every life has value. Human, Zephyrian, or any other species. The Devourers see us all as nothing more than organic material to be consumed. But we see each other as people worth protecting. She paused and looked around the chamber at each council member. You came to conquer humanity because you believe only the strong deserve to survive. But strength is not just about winning battles. Real strength is about protecting the innocent and standing together against darkness. Admiral Krekstar stood up from his throne. The other council members watched him carefully, knowing that his next words would change the course of galactic history. Lisa Hayes, he said formally, I grant you Kethmoran status. You're now a living embodiment of honor that must be protected by all Zephyrians. The other council members gasped. Kethmoran was the highest honor their species could bestow. It had not been granted to anyone in over 500 years. Furthermore, Admiral Krekstar continued, I offer humanity, not conquest, but alliance. Together we will prepare for the war against the Devourers. Lisa felt tears running down her face, but this time they were tears of relief and joy. She had done the impossible. She had turned her people's greatest enemy into their greatest ally. The Zephyrian fleet will escort your ship safely back to human space, Admiral Krekstar announced. You will carry with you the first interstellar alliance treaty in our history. As Lisa was prepared for transport back to the Intrepid, she walked through the corridors of the flagship while alien warriors bowed their heads in respect. The same beings who had come to destroy her people were now ready to die beside them. When she materialized on her own bridge, her crew rushed to surround her. They had heard everything through Danny Rodriguez's hidden communicator and could barely believe what had happened. Commander Amy Foster said with tears in her eyes, You did it. You actually did it. Lisa looked around at her crew, then out. At the view screen, where the Zephyrian fleet was forming an honor guard around their small ship, We all did it, she said. Every single one of us. We showed them what humanity really is. As the Intrepid began its journey home, Lisa thought about the impossible odds she had faced. She had been doomed to lose from the moment she entered the alien trap. But she walked out unharmed because she understood something her enemies had forgotten. Sometimes, the greatest victory comes not from refusing to lose, but from being willing to pay any price to protect what matters most. And what mattered most was not winning or losing, but making sure that life, hope, and compassion would continue to exist in a dark galaxy that desperately needed them.